Hey everyone, welcome back to Sophomore Citizens. I'm Gigi.
I'm Liesel.
And I'm Lilly.
Hello everybody. We are now back together in the physical
Woo-hoo!
realm. We are very excited to all be together, and for this episode, we will be speaking on the holiday season in general. So for our check-in, I think we'll just share some, thoughts and feelings about the holiday season as it is in full swing at this point. So how are we feeling?
Personally, I feel great about the holiday season. I feel like the holiday season started early for me this year. Usually, I'm someone who entraps the holiday season within the month of December. But this year, I let it leak into November. We got our Christmas tree early in November, and I just let the holiday cheer take over me a lot earlier. And this is something I want to start doing every year. Like, I've always kind of made fun, I feel like, of people who start celebrating the holidays like November 1st. But I do think that end of November, why not like put up some lights, put up some decorations, and like start to feel the holiday season a little bit?
I feel like I have been in the past a little resistant to the Thanksgiving is over, Christmas begins.
Yeah.
But like this year, we fully embraced it, and I'm really glad we did do that.
Yeah. And on top of that, I mean, with COVID, obviously, COVID makes everything different.
Right.
So it's going to change the holiday season up a bit. And especially, I think the holiday season is always a time for reflection because it's the end of the year. But even this year, more than ever, we're reflecting on holiday seasons past, and thinking about what last year was like and what normal, quote unquote, normal, like holiday seasons kind of look like and how this one is different. But similar to what we were talking about in the Plentiful pod, it's like COVID has made us more grateful in a lot of ways as people. And I think that I feel even more grateful for the holiday season than ever before.
Yeah.
I also think that I need the Christmas holiday cheer more than ever this
Right.
year. So I think that in that way, COVID is making this holiday season like a little more fun in my mind. Like I definitely do feel a stark contrast between pre-holiday season and holiday season. I feel more festive. I feel more cheery. Like there's just like something to look forward to, something going on that's not the same monotony. So holiday season is a little elevated in that way.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I think we're all feeling the power of the Hanukkah lights right now.
I love Hanukkah. It's so wonderful. The smell of Hanukkah is really one of my favorite parts.
What can you describe to me what the smell of Hanukkah means to you?
Okay, so the smell of Hanukkah in a traditional year, so
Latkes?
not COVID, would
Is there
be
latkes?
yeah, it would be a
That's
combination.
a key smell in my mind.
Yeah, totally.
It would be the combination though of the candle, so like fire and the potatoes cooking.
Mm-hmm.
But this year we did not go to my grandma's house, obviously. So no latkes were made. The Zoller family on their own would never make latkes. That would just be a grandma thing.
How do you like your latkes, with applesauce and sour cream, or none
I
of
would
that?
prefer neither, but I'm definitely team applesauce over team sour cream.
I mean, we know that about you.
Like
We know that about you.
But just plain would be my preference.
Okay. Yeah.
So this
no
year,
ketchup or anything? Like
ketchup.
I mean, listen, I know that that's not traditional, but a potato pairs wonderfully with ketchup. And the idea of eating a latke completely plain, I'm like, it needs a little sauce.
Well, like when you eat hash browns, like that's not weird to eat plain.
Ketchup is.
I mean, like, listen, it's not weird to eat a hash brown plain, but like, you'll not catch me doing that.
Okay, I've never put ketchup on my latkes.
I know that's unorthodox.
I can see why that makes sense.
Right,
I
thank
agree,
you.
but
Gigi is an unorthodox Jew. That's her official religion.
Clearly. But this year, anyways, Hanukkah just smells like the
Fire.
candles.
The candles, yeah.
And that's obviously so beautiful to look at.
Lily, I'm reflecting back on last Hanukkah, which we actually celebrated that was the first day, right? Or what was that?
First night.
First night. No, but it wasn't at night. It was during the day. I actually got to publicly light a candle at a temple at a first grade Hanukkah celebration. And I invited Lily along to the temple.
So fun.
So we got to watch all of these cute little kids sing the most adorable Hanukkah songs. They had taken I think there was like a Kesha song and maybe some just like classic songs, and they had changed the lyrics to be Hanukkah lyrics, and it was literally so adorable and filled my heart with so much cheer because I have not attended a holiday child singing festival since I was the child on stage singing, my holiday songs.
Right.
So that was really a special memory for me. And that really ignited my love of Hanukkah, because obviously Gigi and I, our mom grew up in a way where she didn't really get to have a religious upbringing, but her mom was Jewish and she kind of gave up her faith to be with the person that she loved, if we want to romanticize.
Right.
But so our mom, though, by Jewish law is Jewish, we've never really celebrated the Hanukkah spirit that well.
I would say we did last year.
We did last
because
year.
our cousin who does feel strongly about her Jewish faith was with us at the time, so we did get to, kind of dip our toe in the pool, if you will.
Yeah.
And this year we've done it as well.
Yeah, exactly. And
we have our own menorah now.
And you're rocking the best of both worlds, which
Totally.
has been my dream since I was so young. In high school, I had my mini Christmas tree in my room, but it took me all the way till high school of convincing my parents to even allow that, because the Jewish faith obviously just runs so strong in my household. But all I've ever wanted is the double. Like, that's the dream.
Right. Totally.
And I love having the candles going and the lights of the Christmas tree going. And like, I just feel so much extra love and happiness in my heart for this holiday season.
Totally. And I think that also for us who I would say now and henceforth forever will be doing both, it's so special to have a year where there's no overlap, because it just elongates the fun. And Gigi and I and our mom exchanged some Hanukkah presents on the first night. And so it's just, once again, like, I feel like this year more than ever, I'm elongating my holiday season and loving it.
Yeah. I think any opportunity to like be intentional about excitement
and just like togetherness and like, I do think, like, although we don't have the Jewish scripture down pat, we're not bat mitzvah young ladies, we don't necessarily know the prayers by the back of our hand, we have to read them, kind of thing. Like, it's still very special to honor our ancestors and the people that we come from and the God that we love.
Totally.
That was really inspirational.
Yes,
Liesel.
thank you.
All right, so now that we have covered just some general current updates on our holiday season thus far, we're going to get into our first topic for today. So Liesel, would you please do the honor of sharing with us your thoughts?
Yes, I would love to talk to you girls about holiday movies in general. I want to talk because I think that there's so much going on in God's year 2020 in the holiday movie scene, because we have our vintage classics. We have the holiday movies that came on Disney Channel every year after year after year that we know and love.
Full Court Miracle.
Full Court Miracle, like, genuinely, Gigi, we need to watch it. And
we
Lilly,
should.
Yeah.
Does that movie mean something to you, Lily?
I mean, I've seen it and I can respect it,
I mean,
no, it doesn't have the
it's
value.
no,
but like basketball, Hanukkah, like, I literally, there's the scene, such a beautiful scene, where they invite like the basketball coach over to Hanukkah dinner, and maybe they served like steak or something, and he was like, could I have some, like, I don't know, oh yeah, he wanted a glass of milk. They're eating steak, and the basketball coach, exactly, the basketball coach goes, hey, like, could I get a glass of milk with this? And they're all like,
that's also like red flag central. Like, if you drink a glass of milk with anything, you're on my list. And, like,
especially also as a full-grown adult, you get a steak and you want a glass of milk.
But they wanted to have this moment of tension.
Well, I would have asked for cheese.
Yeah.
Like, that's also
like
kind of
ice
weird.
cream after the meal.
But isn't after, like,
no, there's a certain waiting period.
Yeah, so the waiting
but
period.
Also the adherence, isn't there like some difference in the adherence?
The milk is weird, and I just need to repeat, if you drink I don't care how old you are, like, even if you're a little kid, but like, don't do that.
But anyway, this was something I was going to bring up, the fact that Hanukkah, is kind of lacking in the film department. That's one element that we need to talk about. The next element is obviously Hallmark movies, like, just cranking them out. And now this interesting resurgence of the formula of the Hallmark Christmas movie being brought to us by media behemoth Netflix.
Right. The streaming platforms have, the vultures have descended.
Now Hulu has decided to do her take on a holiday movie. Like, and it's funny how, in my opinion, the Hulu holiday movie exemplifies Hulu's identity as a streaming platform, right? That like Netflix is just like throw everything at the wall. Like let's literally put Vanessa Hudgens in 17 weird Christmas movies.
Right.
She's so bad in one of them. I started it, turned it off in 3 minutes. We could talk about that.
Yeah, no, Liesel, I maybe this is for another episode, but I do think it's really interesting where Hulu has decided to position themselves in the streaming platform world as far as the movies that they choose to put out with their name on it.
Right.
Because I do feel like I don't want to go as far as to say that they're an A24 of the streaming platform world, but like they definitely are trying to go a little more alternative, and that even shows through in their holiday movie.
Totally. Like I think Hulu, Amazon Prime, studios, Netflix, like they all have their own identity, and that could be an interesting thing to explore at some point. But I would like to start my topic off, and we'll get into Vanessa, we'll get into Netflix, we'll get into Hulu. Let's start out, and I want to know like your girl's favorite classic holiday movies.
Okay, well, I think it's important we bring up like the Teen Titan, Love Actually.
Yeah,
of course.
Then, I mean, for me, that one has lost a little bit of its power. Because I feel like I watched it too many times, because that movie like transcended its identity of holiday movie to just be like great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it like lost a little bit of its power in my mind.
Yeah.
But I think all it takes is just waiting a little longer, and then it'll really like hit hard the next time I do watch it.
And what I will say, in my opinion, the most long-lasting thing from Love Actually to me is I feel it in my fingers, I feel it in my toes. Christmas is all around us, and so the feeling grows. Like
It's
if
super powerful.
If anyone ever says like I feel it, like I want to sing that song.
Sure. So I would say that that's like obvious, has to be thrown out there.
Yeah.
Another one that is classic, I think, but only it's new to me, new to us in quarantine, is The Holiday.
Yeah, and
not to be confused with the Queen Latifah movie, which also
that's
is
what
Christmas.
I was thinking about you.
Also is Christmas, and also is a great film.
Also a great film. And I remember that one as well. For me as a kid, I was like, let's watch The Holiday any time of year.
Yeah, I think that The Holiday, like the Queen Latifah version, we overwatched.
Right, but I haven't watched it in so long that like I could do a double feature of The Holiday, Queen Latifah, and The Holiday, Kate Winslet.
Oh my gosh, we should do that.
Yeah,
let's do it.
The Holiday with the incomparable
Cameron Diaz,
Jude Law.
Oh, Jude Law.
That's who I was meaning to call incomparable. Jude Law, like chef's kiss. This is him at his prime of Miss Jean Brodie. And he's just such a shining star. And then we have Jack Black, who is fine.
I like how you gave him Jack as if his name was like Jacques.
Jacques Black. And then we have the incomparable, once again, Cameron Diaz and Catherine Winslet.
Yes.
Right.
So like just queens all around. And honestly, like I used to be in the Cameron Diaz hate club, and I still kind of am. But after watching My Best Friend's Wedding, where I did kind of root for her, and in The Holiday, like she is good. She's a good character.
We can't forget Eloise at Christmas Time. I think that was like one of my favorite Christmas movies as a kid. And of course, Elf forever and always. So important. Mary Steenburgen is like my new celebrity crush.
Right. And
I love her.
She's gonna come up again.
She is gonna come up again.
I will say that I feel like my holiday movie knowledge is slightly lacking because it wasn't as much of a thing growing up. Like we would do Hanukkah, and then Christmas was like, I mean, obviously it is a spirited thing, and like I've watched them, but I haven't seen as many as I feel like most people. The first thing that comes to mind is Home Alone.
Oh yeah. Home Alone 2 is way better than that, in my opinion. Yes,
I have seen all of them, love them, great. I also think they've aged very well.
Yeah, I also think like, I mean, to be honest, I haven't watched it that recently, but I remember as a kid, like cracking up at like the pain inflicted onto the two homeless guys in the end. And like, maybe that's really fucked up of me, but like I remember as a child being like, this is so funny, like he's getting the bad guys so good.
Right.
Yeah, and then you watch it as an adult. Like I watched one a few weeks ago, and again, aged perfectly. But I feel like while my classic Christmas holiday movie knowledge might be a little lacking, because like as a kid, my parents was never like, oh, let's watch them, because it just like typically wasn't about Hanukkah, so they weren't promoting it. I don't know. But now all I want to do is watch holiday movies because of the happiness and the cheer. And I also just need to throw some respect to Elf because I do feel a lot of love for it.
Totally.
Yeah. Another trilogy that I think is really powerful is the Santa Claus trilogy, which I really I think it's interesting, the idea that runs through a lot of Christmas movies that are for children about believing in Santa Claus and belief in general. And I really like Christmas movies that play around the idea of how much you believe in the spirit of Santa and how much you don't, and like, oh, that people who don't believe in Santa like don't get to go to the North Pole, they don't get to see him, whatever, but that the kiddies who do get to enjoy.
Well, okay, I'm sorry to put a quick pause. Can we check in about when we knew that Santa wasn't real? Did you?
I don't think that was ever a thing for me.
But I mean, like, I know
I
your
can
parents...
equate it to the Tooth Fairy, which I believed in for way too long. I think it was 5th grade that I realized the Tooth Fairy was not real. An individual who you both know fully spoiled it for me in elementary school. My mom was so angry. So let's just pretend Santa's like the same thing.
Lily, I would like to know, I feel like you and Cameron would be the type to believe in things too long.
Yeah.
Did Cameron also believe, maybe not the Tooth Fairy, but like something else for too long?
Well, Cameron's story with the Tooth Fairy is that when I got in the car after school and was like, Mom, so-and-so told me the Tooth Fairy wasn't real. Like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Cameron is obviously 3 years younger than me, so he got it spoiled by that.
Right.
And that even fueled my mom's anger even more. But Cameron never believed in Santa Claus. He said because he saw Santa in commercials, he knew that Santa couldn't be real.
Right.
That makes no sense to me, but I can't think of anything else that Cameron believed too long. But I agree that if Santa was introduced to Cameron and I, we would have been all over that.
So I would say I remember having some skepticism about Santa when I was maybe like 8 years old or something, because I was just like running the calculations and I was like, there's just no way, you know? And I know that you found out before me because obviously you're older than me. And I know that you and Mom like did a good job of not spoiling it for me once you found out.
Oh, that's good.
Like I remember that, like, or I remember Mom in retrospect being like, oh, me and Liesel were like really good about not spoiling for you and like letting you find out on your own. And so I think I was like 8 years old, 9 years old or something. And I was like, there's just no way.
Yeah, it's funny because Lily, actually my belief or disbelief in Santa Claus that I remember was related to the Tooth Fairy as well, because I just like the only conversation that I distinctly remember having about this topic was with my friend. I think it was in maybe 1st or 2nd grade, and he had said like, he said we like brought up the topic, do you believe, like, you know, and he was like, not really so much in Santa Claus, but definitely the Tooth Fairy still. And I was like, okay, yeah, like same. And so
See,
for
I
some,
feel like,
but this is such like a representation of child mind that we literally had a conversation. Do you believe like in Santa Claus? And we're both like, no, like not really, but like Tooth Fairy, like like that, that tracks. But like Santa, like there's too many holes in his story.
See, what's funny is I feel like the holes in the Tooth Fairy story like became more apparent to me earlier on. I was like,
In retrospect, I see Tooth Fairy as way less believable than Santa, but I will say that I recently saw a TikTok of this guy who's a postal worker, and he was talking about what happens to all the letters that kids address to Santa at the North Pole, and they have postal workers like respond to them as Santa.
That's
and
so
if
cute.
you want to do it, they post them on their website, and you can like write the response, like sign up to do one. And I was like, that is something that makes me so proud to live in this country where we are all like getting together, being like, yes, we're gonna have children believe in Santa.
That is really cute.
It's very cute.
I also think part of my disbelief in the Tooth Fairy, but like continued belief in Santa Claus, comes from the fact that like, you know, they are really pushing, this is kind of the opposite of Cameron's logic. They are really pushing Santa like at the malls, in the commercials, like across the board. There's a lot of lore around Santa, less around the Tooth Fairy.
Right. And there's like a lot more of like the movies like the Santa Claus that like justify like, oh, the mall Santas are just like pretending, but like I'm still real.
Right. And the fact that like I remember thinking to myself, like, all these people are pretending, like there's too much here
Right.
for me to feel like I'm ready to question this quite yet.
Yeah.
Whereas the Tooth Fairy, I was like, they're not really even doing that good of a job of making me believe that it's real. Like, oh, it's just my mom or my dad.
And it's funny because I also remember my mom being like, or me being like, I need to put my tooth under my pillow, right? And my mom being like, no, like just put it on like your like bedside table, like that'll be easier for like the fairy. And like obviously, like when I think about having my own kids, the idea of like having to like get the like extricate the tooth from under the pillow of my sleeping child, like I would be so nervous because if they catch you.
That is actually, I literally never thought about having to be the parent in that situation. Yeah. I will also say, my friend Belle, shout out, took a class in family communication, and they read a whole essay about the fact that like it's actually kind of fucked up, like convincing
for parents to lie,
for like convincing your kids that Santa is real and like whatever, and that like it's maybe something that parents should like really think critically about before, you know, getting their kids like involved in all that craziness. But to be honest, I didn't read the essay, so like I don't really know the ins and outs of this issue, and I don't personally like, I'm not yet convinced that there are really detrimental effects to this, you know, thing that we do as a society to like tell kids that it's like, you know, oh, real magic man comes down the chimney.
And Lily, I'm curious to hear from you, like if, depending on who you marry, obviously that might make a difference, but you could marry a Jewish young man or you could marry a Christian young man or whatever. And do you think that, like, for example, if you married a Christian young man or atheist, but maybe grew up Christian, like, would you like carry like the myth of Santa Claus with them and like do the tree and everything?
Do you want to do tree and Hanukkah every year anyways?
I don't care who I marry. There will be a tree. It can be decorated with menorahs for all I care. Like we can get little menorah ornaments. We can do blue lights, but there will be a tree, which my dad, who is a fully Jewish man, grew up with a Christmas tree just because in New Orleans when he was younger, like everyone had it. And it has nothing to do, like I'm not placing any value of Jesus in this tree, but like if there is cheer,
I don't place any value of Jesus in my tree.
Like I just feel like I have been robbed of cheer. Like it has no religious value. It has nothing to do with anything else other than like my friends get this tree that smells good, looks pretty, brings happiness, and I get nothing.
Right.
And also in the same way that like you're explaining that there's this smell of Hanukkah, even though, you know, our mother has a sensitive system that requires as little scent as possible from the Christmas tree, we don't have that much scent in the home, I would say, with the Christmas tree.
Right.
But its presence does, like year after year in the month of December, does evoke or like really stir up those holiday emotions, you know?
Totally. And yeah, totally.
In a very powerful way.
Okay, so now that we had that little tangent about Santa himself, okay, so back to Christmas movies. So we talked about the classics. I think we pretty much covered it. And obviously all of our wise babies listening out there probably have their beloved classics. And we would love to hear from all of you if you have any recommendations of movies that we absolutely must watch regarding the holiday season. Now, let's talk about the surge of Netflix films. Lily, I'm going to kick it off with you and just the two words, Vanessa Hudgens.
Okay, the movie, I think it's called The Night in...
It's called The Night Before Christmas.
The K-N
before Christmas.
Yeah, okay. This was one of the worst films
I have seen. Did you see Princess Switch number 2?
No.
That one was really bad too.
Okay, but
that's also Vanessa Hudgens, and there's 3 of her.
And one of them has two of them have fake British accents that are so bad.
Really bad. This movie, like I maybe lasted 10 minutes. It was horrible. Did not bring me Christmas cheer. No love. And Netflix was trying to do a thing that they just should not be doing. Like that is not, in my mind, the spirit of a Christmas movie. It
Well,
doesn't
listen,
belong.
I haven't seen that film, so like I can't speak on that.
Please don't watch it.
But I won't. But I do trust Netflix to give me my holiday movies. Like I trust them to give me my cheese ball content.
I trust Netflix as a company, but I don't trust them doing things like putting Vanessa Hudgens in a
No.
Christmas movie, which she just doesn't
No,
belong
but
in.
holiday,
Okay,
so cute.
great, but this was different. Like,
Right.
I just think that they were trying too hard to force a Vanessa Hudgens Christmas moment, which like
Well,
that's not her
clearly
forte.
they literally had to do 3 movies with her.
And
Right.
like that's not her thing. I'm not saying
Right.
Netflix as a whole. I'm saying this choice was a no. Absolutely no.
No, but and I think that like Netflix is really trying to appeal to absolutely everyone. And I think that also like a lot of people will joke watch stuff on Netflix. Like
Totally.
I know that I watched the A Christmas Prince.
Uh-huh.
I think you girl did you see it?
I don't think so.
Anyway, it was like the same plot as like the Vanessa Hudgens Princess Christmas movie.
Who was
you
in
know,
it?
so like nobody's. Like
Uh-huh.
literally nobody's. And this girl goes to like Moldova,
Belgravia.
Moldova, Blagongia, and like she's like a reporter and she like meets this Christmas prince.
That's
and
literally the same plot.
She's a reporter. She sneaks into the castle by saying that she's a tutor.
Mhm.
And then like the little sister of the Christmas prince is in a wheelchair, so she tutors her. And it's actually kind of effed up because the little princess like isn't in the line of succession to become queen, so like it has to be the Christmas prince, even though he doesn't want to be king of Moldova.
Does she want to be?
Yeah, like she would be like so capable, but she's like 11, so that also makes it kind of challenging. Anyway, we're getting on a tangent, but like I do think that a lot of people will seriously watch these movies and seriously enjoy them. There is a fraction of people who will do that. And then there's a bunch of people who will put these movies on in the background and just like laugh at them. Like Princess Switched again, like we just kind of threw it on.
And especially also in COVID, like we are thirst monsters for the content. Like pretty much anything that they put on my screen, I'm like, let's at least give it a try.
Right.
And it's working. Like as someone, as I mentioned, like I didn't watch a lot of traditional Christmas movies growing up because like my parents were making more of the decisions for me, but now that I'm a capable person of like choosing, like I want to be watching holiday movies and I'm watching all of these things on Netflix. So I will say like they're doing a good job of just like throwing it all at the wall and like having people watch.
Yeah, totally. But I do think that that's something interesting that, you know, maybe Netflix could think about trying to analyze that data a little bit more of like how many people are seriously watching this and how many people are kind of watching this because it's funny. Like I would just be curious to know. And I wish that Netflix was more open about their data in general. Like first of all, I would love to get a Spotify Wrapped Netflix version.
Yes.
Whoa.
Like that would be so fun to see like how many hours you spent. I mean, maybe you don't want that, but like what you watched and like what your favorite show was and stuff like that, or your favorite actor, even like they could figure out like who did you watch the most. That would just be so cool.
That would be cool.
But
Netflix, get on that.
I think in general, we've covered the holiday film.
I feel like there is still so much to cover, but like I think we've done our best.
Yeah. And if I had to recommend one holiday movie for adults that is holiday without being like hit you over the head with holiday, it would be The Holiday with Cameron Diaz and Kate.
And we didn't really ever get the chance to circle back around to Hulu's movie, The Happiest Season, with Kristen Stewart, Aubrey Plaza, the man from Schitt's Creek, Mary Steenburgen, like Allison Brie, like just star-studded cast.
Yeah.
And Liesel and I did enjoy it. I would say it is a Christmas movie, but it's also just like a movie, you know, with an interesting plot.
A good like rom-com. And I think that also what I'm thinking now with Hulu and like their distinct identity, I do think that Hulu is like maybe a more political like platform than like Netflix or Amazon Prime tries to be, like because The Happiest Season of course features a lesbian couple and like that whole narrative, and then thinking about like Handmaid's Tale, and like I feel like Hulu is really out there trying to tackle the difficult issues. They're not scared. Whereas Netflix is very sanitized, apolitical sometimes, you know, like that they're really just trying to appeal to everyone, where I do feel like there gets to be a little bit more nuance and some more interesting things Unpacked over on Hulu.
Sure. All right, so now for my topic, I'm going to sprinkle in a little holiday cynicism, just something that's been on the mind lately, is essentially this thing we've done as a society, that all of our like mega hard shopping holidays are in the fourth quarter of the year. So if you think about it, Thanksgiving already kind of a trucked up holiday as it is, then just tack on right next to it Black Friday, which is quite literally all about consuming. And it follows right after the consuming of food, then it's the consuming of whatever product. And then the fact that Hanukkah is a holiday that is not necessarily tied to gift giving and like isn't like religiously that's significant, and yet it's like the prominent gift giving holiday. And even Christmas, I understand that there is like somewhat more of a history around like old Saint Nick and like giving gifts to like orphans or something.
But like, let's be real, the most devout Christians don't celebrate Christmas in the way that we do. Like they're talking about Jesus's birth and like
the nativity.
We're talking about like presents under a tree and like Santa Claus, who's like literally not in the Bible, which shocked me as a kid.
Well, and also
that is shocking. I've never thought about that. Like I know that Santa is not in the Bible, but like Santa, get in the Bible. Come on.
But like think about it. I know that we have our other holidays like Valentine's Day or whatever, where you're supposed to like get chocolates, and then Easter there's like getting chocolates. But there's literally like all of our major gift giving holidays are right there at the end. And it's like almost like just baffling to me that it's only now that I'm being hit over the head with it. Like obviously we've designed this to be like, okay, everyone's got to scrounge up every last cent that they can in this calendar year so that we can jack numbers up and whatever, make the most money.
Yeah, definitely.
What comes to mind when I think about the fourth quarter as a whole and like the holiday season is just general indulgence in every definition of the word. Like you are indulging in your food. You have your Thanksgiving, you have Christmas and holiday treats, you have Christmas Eve dinner, Hanukkah latkes, whatever else. You have probably some travel in there, family time. Like it all just feels very indulgent, and that pairs well or not well, depending on how you look at it, with like indulging in spending money and buying gifts and giving gifts and all of that, which is very repetitive and just reinforcing your point, but that is just the vibe of this time that I get. And it is interesting that all goes together. Like we are indulging in everything else in the world, and then we're also spending all this money and doing all this gift giving and receiving.
And I think a lot of people have like a bit of an indulge restrict mindset where December is the month to let your diet go, let your
spending
budgeting go, let all of that go, and then January is like dry January. I'm gonna lose 10 pounds and I'm gonna spend no money at all in January. And I think that like kind of what Gigi is saying, that like we save all of our spending for the quarter four, for the end of the year. Like I kind of think that we should as a society
Christmas every day.
Aim to like, let our indulgence like be more of a spread out, like you can indulge and buy people gifts for no reason, or like buy them a nice gift for their birthday, or indulge in whatever food you want throughout the year. And then I think you're also then like less called to like make December this extreme month of indulgence and make January this extreme month of restriction, when, as Gigi's saying, just make it the holidays all the time.
Well, I'm not actually saying that. I just said Christmas every day just to reiterate what you were saying. And I can agree with what you're saying on, the indulgence of food type of stuff, but I don't necessarily want to touch on that too much here because that's not what I'm focused on. And I do appreciate you bringing that up, Lilly, in general, because I do think it is a time of indulgence, period. But I don't want to skew the conversation that way too much, because my fascination with this is the fact that like, I've lived 22 years on this earth, and it's taken me this long to be like, oh yeah, like this was a thing that they did on purpose. And that, like, even as someone, I mean, it's not like it was completely, unknown to me that that these were manufactured to get us to spend money, but just the way that it was like all chunked up into one part of the year and strategically at the end of the year. But it's interesting that, like, I still get so much joy and excitement out of the gift giving and the, like, major indulgence in gift giving and receiving at this time of year. Like, I think it is fun, and I, even as someone who is aware of the fact that I'm like being manipulated or that I'm being socialized to like enjoy this, I still enjoy it.
Right.
It still is like something that I like to participate in and I think is fun,
Totally.
Absolutely. I agree. I love it. I think this leads literally perfectly
Right.
into my topic for this episode, which is all about the art of gift giving and receiving. So I think that I would like to start this conversation by talking about gift giving, because that is something that, first of all, I love doing. I think we talked about this in the birthday episode. I love giving other people gifts. I love celebrating other people's birthday in general. I'm not saying that I prefer that to receiving gifts, because I also really enjoy that. But to focus on gift giving, I think that it is such a fun thing, but also can be so difficult. And I know that this holiday season specifically, I have struggled quite a bit with what to get people, balancing like homemade gifts versus a more material item and all of that. And I think that it is like pretty commonly something that people have a hard time with, like giving gifts, not receiving, giving gifts in general.
Yeah. And I would say, like, I get scared about gift giving because obviously, like, you kind of want to strike the right balance of getting something that they want, but maybe not something that they would buy for themselves. Like, I think that that's kind of the magic recipe of gift giving. And I will also say, as someone who tries to be, you know, a somewhat more conscious consumer, it becomes difficult when, like, uh, you know, I know that there are so many resources out there for ethical and sustainable gift giving options, but like it is simply more difficult. And especially also when I'm buying for other people, I'm like, oh, like it's okay, like I can have a little more leeway with it, but like I don't think that that's necessarily a good attitude. And I feel like it does just bring up like this time of year and the idea of consuming and like buying for myself or for other people. It does add extra pressure when I'm like, okay, I could either go the easy route and get something that like I feel like is a reasonable price that I feel like I know that they'll like, but like I'm selling my soul to the capitalist system, or I have to try a little harder and spend a little more money or whatever. Again, it doesn't always have to exist in that dichotomy, but like I definitely find myself feeling some sort of internal conflict about this issue.
Yeah. And this is something that I was thinking about actually, that I think this year with having COVID and doing a lot more shopping online as opposed to doing any shopping in person, I am definitely a person who succumbs to the chintzy chauncey treats at the checkout area. Like I see the scrunchies, I see the lip glosses, and like I just want to grab them all and like buy them.
Well, and those are good gift giving items. Like I think that getting like 4 or 5 chintzy chauncies from the checkout could make a full gift.
Oh, totally. But I do think that like I'm the type of person that like I will mindlessly buy those things.
Sure.
And
for
like,
yourself?
For myself.
Okay.
Yeah, like of course, like if I go out shopping for you, like I need to get a little something for myself too.
Sure.
But I'm so much less likely to do that if I'm shopping online, because when I'm shopping online, I'm like, oh, I want to get Lilly a unicorn. Let me go onto unicorns.net and buy Lilly her unicorn. And like there of course, like they pop things up and they show you related items, but it's not exactly the same as like that checkout area for me.
Well, and not even just that checkout area, but like things being physically in front of you, and it's as easy as reaching out and picking it up.
And like, oh, $5? Oh, that's nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I agree with you, Liesel, and I feel like we are exaggerating this experience for sure. Like I do kind of want to bring it back a little bit, but I agree. Like you do get so it is such a like psychological thing.
Yeah.
I also do think it's important to bring up the element of surprise when talking about giving gifts to others, because I think that in addition to
I thank you for bringing this up, Lily, because this is such an important element.
I think
thank you.
This really comes into striking that perfect balance you're talking about of like, okay, for example, if I make my Hanukkah list and I send it to my loved ones who are so graciously giving me gifts, it's like, do you buy exactly what's on the list, but like you also want to throw a little something in there, but like then you're not sure if they're gonna like it? Like that is always very difficult for me, and kind of brings it all back to like, I think that's even harder in COVID when like your options are mostly limited to online. That is very difficult for me to handle.
I also think, as you know, the sophomore citizens that we are, it's an interesting situation to try and navigate, to figure out who you are gift giving and receiving with, because like it's uncomfortable if I get a gift for someone and they don't get a gift for me, or like I'm not uncomfortable, like I wouldn't be upset about that, but it is just like a weird thing to try and navigate. And especially, as I'm saying, like as a young adult, you know, you're kind of phasing out of like getting all these toys and whatever from your parents, but then like, you know, what do you really want, and like what is it that is reasonable to ask of from your or not that you ask things from your friends, but like you begin this relationship of getting a little something for your friends. And like, you know, none of us have any significant others, but like I think that that's another thing where you start to give to your significant other, and it's like it's just trying to figure out like who is on your list of giving and receiving.
You know, G, I'm really glad that you brought this up, so thank you very much, because this is something that I feel pressure and stress about, is just exactly because I'm a sophomore citizen. Like I feel like I have some friends where it's like, oh yeah, this is a thing we do, and then I have other friends where it's like, no, this doesn't feel as much like a thing we do. And it is very uncomfortable that it's not universal.
Yeah.
Like,
we need a Liesel's law about this.
No, I know we do. And I actually do have a little something to say about this. So last year, we were so lucky and blessed to have our beautiful cousins and aunts come and celebrate Christmas with us. And I think for Gigi and I, we were like, they're coming. We're getting them gifts for Christmas, even though we've never celebrated Christmas with them before. It's not like we're going to buy, you know, our cousin like a lip gloss and like send it to DC, you know, like that would just be kind of weird.
And now Israel.
And now she's all the way in Israel, but whatever. But when you're here, like, you know, we're going to get you some Christmas gifts. And I think that they really weren't expecting that. Like maybe they were expecting to get like a gift from our mom or something, but they weren't expecting to get like some Liesel and Gigi gifts. But like, we love gift giving, and like, you're our family and you're here and you're like living with us on Christmas. Like, we're not going to like leave you empty handed, you know, on Christmas Day. So I do think that my Liesel's law tentatively for the gift giving has to do with time and geography. Okay. If you are geographically closer, that is opening up the floodgates for giving a Christmas gift. Additionally, time, right? So for me, like when I was in college and I was in New York, if I was like in the city closer to Christmas, then I was much more likely to buy my friends Christmas gifts because that mindset is already happening. But I could see a world where, like, for example, Lilly came home, you know, for Christmas in November. So she's not really necessarily going to.
Isn't that more geographical?
Yes, this is geographical.
Oh, I thought we switched over to time.
Well, no, it's also it's a formula of geography plus time. Because if Lilly was in Wisconsin on December 20th, maybe she'd be more likely to get her roommates. I don't know what her roommate gift giving scheme looks like, but I'm just saying maybe
sure. Okay.
If you're closer to Hanukkah,
it's the
intersection of proximity to the holiday and geography.
Right.
Okay. So like, and even like if I were to meet up with my friend, you know, on December 22nd for lunch, like maybe there's the implication that like, oh, we're gonna like get each other gifts.
Whoa, I feel like, I mean, I get what you're saying, like this equation checks out.
Yeah.
But I feel like not enough people are on this Liesel's law.
Well, no, that's part
yet.
of Liesel's laws is that people aren't on that vibe.
I know, but Liesel, the other ones are like stuff that people have heard of and been like, okay, yeah, like I think everyone could get on board with that.
Hey, to be fair to me and my laws, like this is being like formulated as we speak, and most other Liesel's laws have had more time to process and cook in my brain. But I do think that there's an equation of location, time of year, closeness,
like
/ relationship, dynamic.
That is an important
and
element.
The fourth one is, would you be comfortable checking in with them and asking them, do you want to exchange gifts this year? Okay. If you're close enough to feel comfortable asking, that's a person you should get a gift for, and just check in with them and be like, do you want to do like a gift exchange this year?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think like it's as simple as just asking like, oh, do you want to exchange gifts this year?
Yeah.
And I think, another element is like maybe even also feeling comfortable to check in and be like, what are we thinking budget wise? Like general ballpark. Like even Liesel and I had to do that this year because we didn't we've had this issue in the past of there being such a like large disparity. That's the right word, right?
Yeah.
Large disparity in like the amount of money that we've spent on each other. And I feel like it's just caused weirdness in the past, or not like weird. I don't mean to over exaggerate it, but like, it's so much easier just being like, okay, what are we generally thinking? Like quantity of gifts, the amount of money being spent, like, what are we thinking? Yeah. And I think that streamlines the process.
Yeah. And like, that doesn't eliminate the fun.
Not at all.
Gift giving at all, to be like, let's spend $20 on each other or whatever. I also think another element of this Liesel's law is if you are in a big friend group, I do think that something like Secret Santa or White Elephant should be the route you go down. And then if you have some people within your group you're especially close to and you want to get them something like a little bit more special, you can do that. But like pretty much like everyone just gets their Secret Santa gift, and everyone feels like they got a gift, they gave a gift. But like if you're in a big friend group, like that's all you can ask for.
Totally.
And like lots of the Liesel's laws, the thing I want most is just for it to be universal. Like, I'm okay with really anything. Like we're gonna ball out and all get each other gifts. Okay, I'm receiving so many gifts that like it makes sense for me to spend a lot of money on others. We're gonna get no one gifts. Fine. I just want some continuity, because every year I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get gifts for like these 4 people that like it feels like I should because we do this, but like then is this person like, I just want yes, no, let's get some laws in place. Liesel, assume your position as world minister and do it. But okay, let's quickly talk about gift receiving.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is difficult too.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, Lily, yes. What I will say is like, I think that it's very difficult to receive a gift. It is like being put on stage, at a talent show, in my opinion. Because there are eyes on you. There's eyes on you, and they want to see a reaction. And as we know, as we have very clearly established, Liesel has no control over her face. So for Liesel, the gift unwrapping is difficult because if I don't like a gift, I do fear that it shows. So then sometimes I feel the need to overcompensate and be like, hey, but then that's weird too. So I do struggle with this. And I think that once again, like you just have to be open and communicative, read the room, read the relationship. I've had to come to the point with my mom, who is one of my primary gift givers. Bless her heart, for doing that. Sometimes like our style or our taste in things
I would say she does usually like knock it out of the park.
Oh, 1000%. And I'm so grateful for everything that she's ever given me, including my life and the air that I breathe. But like when she gives me like a neon, hair clip.
I was going to say infinity scarf.
Infinity scarf. Like, and I'm like,
Mare would never.
No, she wouldn't, but I was just coming up with something that like she wouldn't.
Okay. She wouldn't. But there are some things where I'm like, first of all, Queen, like how much do you spend on this? Because sometimes she'll spend $100 on like a headband. And when I'm like, I don't like need this headband, like, could you please like put that $100 back in your bank account? Because like the cost benefit of this gift is not right. So the thing is like with my mom and with some other people that I feel very close and comfortable with, Gigi or, whoever, I do feel very open to be able to be like, I like this or I don't like this, and just have that be out on the table. Anyone else who gives me a gift ever, I'm sorry, I don't know what reaction I'm going to give.
Listen, I think if I have a tip, and I don't think this is necessarily going to work for you, Liesel, because you're kind of like beyond the point of repair.
Oh, wow.
Is like, I would say I have a very similar reaction to all gifts. So it's like,
you do.
So it's like, regardless of how I, like, if I'm really excited about it or like not that excited about it, my reaction in the moment is pretty much always exactly the same.
Yeah.
And I feel like this makes it so that like, and this isn't something that I've intentionally done. It's just something that I naturally do, because even something that I'm super excited about, like I'm not gonna be like, yes, like,
Right.
wow, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like, I love it. And then it'll pretty much be that for everything.
Yeah.
Unless I really don't like it. And then I'll be like, oh, like, I don't really know if I'll have that much use for this. Like, oh, Liesel, do you think you'd want this? You know, like, and I stay pretty relaxed. I really try and work on my breathing. So, you know, I think that by being more consistent with the reaction, you're less likely to really indicate to the gift giver, like, you know, what you're feeling towards it.
But do you think I give an extreme reaction sometimes?
Like an extremely positive?
Yeah.
No, I don't think you ever give that strong of a positive reaction. But you definitely...
It shows.
It shows when you don't like it.
And it shows when I genuinely do, I think.
Yeah.
I do think that there's something to be said about not liking a gift and saying it. I mean, okay.
It's only with the right people. Like,
yes,
it's,
like,
it
I'm
has
not
to be...
saying or promoting, like, our sophomore citizens, our wise babies getting presents to be like, I hate this. No. But, like, similarly to Liesel, my primary gift giver is my wonderful, lovely mother and father. And I am completely in the position with them. I've done it thousands of times, and I will continue to do it. I open a present. Thank you so much, Mom. I actually really don't like this.
Yeah.
And it is dealt with. And honestly, thinking about it, like, if I'm giving someone else a gift and they hate it, like, I honestly kind of want to know.
Yeah. Because I don't want to be involved in the charade of, like, first of all, you pretending that you like it. It feels like a waste of my, you know, money. And like, then there's the whole thing of, like, if I give someone a gift and I never see them wear or utilize it, like, you know, and it's a gift that I would see them wear or utilize, like, I'm like, oh, they didn't like that. And then that feels worse than them having told me, like, in the moment, like, oh, like, thank you so much. Like, that's so sweet of you. But like, I wouldn't really use this, you know, like, I would rather have that and like return it and exchange it for something else.
Yeah. Like, I know that's incredibly uncomfortable. So I'm not saying that applies in all situations.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you're able to strike a balance where it's like, thank you so much for this. This isn't my style or my thing. Like, can you still return? You don't say it like that. But like, if there's a way, like, if I were the gift giver, I'd be like, I want this person to have something they love. I'm not offended if they don't like it. It's not personal.
Well, that's what I was going to say is, like, I think part of the reason that I have a relatively like neutral reaction to gifts in general is, like, I'm not a huge gifts person, giver, receiver in general. And so, like, I just don't, like, I don't equate that much like meaning or like it being personal or it being any kind of reflection of the relationship or of that person. So like, when I give a gift and they don't like it, I'm kind of like, that's okay. Like, I'm not upset by this. I don't think that you don't like me or that I don't like you. Like, it's fine, you know?
Yeah.
And so when I receive a gift and I don't like it, I'm kind of like, okay, like this there is no additional meaning attached to this. Additionally, I think it is very important across the board in every aspect of life, honest feedback.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing anyone any good by not giving honest feedback. You are doing people a disservice by not giving honest feedback. Like, I would say.
Yeah.
And I know, like, I'm not encouraging people to be mean. But I think like this is a different realm of life, but it's still like a good example in my opinion. I used to have such a big issue giving or like sending food back.
Right.
And it still to this day makes me really uncomfortable. Like, it just, I hate doing it.
Yeah.
But I think I sort of had a realization about like the people making the food should know.
Yeah,
they want to know.
Wrong.
They want to know that something was wrong. And like, from the chef's perspective, like, okay, sure, like no one likes that necessarily, but they would rather know to be able to fix it than to not know and not be able to fix it.
Once again, like, it, to me, it matters on the dish like how much of a problem it was and how fixable this was.
Right.
If I asked for a dish with no tomato and they gave it to me with tomato, like that's not really like something that the chef needs to be made aware of.
Sure.
But as has happened to Gigi, like if you get some chicken with like some grizzly grizzlies and like bones and shit in there, like let them know, because like they need to be like doing a better job. Like someone could literally choke on their grizzly grizzlies. Like that's not cool.
That did happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like
no,
No,
I
she
didn't
didn't
choke,
choke,
but
but
I
she
got
was-
some grizzly grizzlies, and I felt really uncomfortable to be like I'll be like, okay, thank you.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, like, oh, it was delicious.
Yeah.
Like, meanwhile, handing back a plate of like weird chicken bones that like were not supposed to be in there. Like it was not like bone full chicken. Like it was like shredded rotisserie chicken.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm also a big proponent of the gift receipt and leaving the tags on.
Right.
And you know, you black out the price, like if you're worried about that, you know, but there are plenty of ways to give people an automatic out. And I think that the more that everyone just like does that as a practice when gift giving, the better, you know. Like unfortunately, you know, the gift that we got for Lilly for Hanukkah was customized and personalized. So
Are you
like
insinuating that I didn't like
no,
it?
of course you loved it, but because I'm great at gift giving. But like if Lilly hadn't liked that, that's not returnable. So those are the gifts that I always get most worried about, is things that are personalized. And we got our dad a book of his birthday that's related to his birthday, and I literally checked with Gigi like 100 times, like repeating his birthday over and over, because if you get that wrong and you get the wrong birthday on the book, like you can't return it because those things are not returnable, and then you got them something that like doesn't have the right date on it, you know.
Right.
And I also think that brings it all back to the title of this segment, my topic, which is important to emphasize, which is the art of gift giving and receiving. And I just need to
The
stress
finesse
that
of it.
like it is an art, and I legitimately believe that some people are good at gift giving and some people aren't that good at it. And it's a skill. You can hone it, you can work on it, or you can just own it and be like, okay, I'm not that great at gift giving. Like, I'm going to not do these crazy personalized things that like people aren't going to love because they're not returnable. Or like, I think it is something that can be worked on. And if you're not good at it, that is okay.
Yeah.
And it's an art.
So this leads me into my first recommendation.
Oh, wow.
Which is related to this topic. As someone who does not find that gift giving comes particularly naturally, my piece of advice, my recommendation is to start early. In the same way that the crippling fear and anxiety that comes with the rush to find a Halloween costume, the panic that you feel when you're like, I have to get a gift and I'm running out of time and I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
You just got to start early.
Right.
And I think knowing that about myself, I'm like, I have to get my wheels turning on my gift giving farther in advance than maybe the average person, because I know that a large brainstorming process is important for me. Like I know that in order to give a gift that I feel good about, it's not going to come under pressure most of the time. And so I've made it a point to be like, all right, I need to be thinking about this further in advance than even maybe I think I need to. So my recommendation is, if the art of gift giving isn't something that, you know, is second nature to you, I would recommend to begin the process a bit earlier than maybe you think you need to.
I also think that being in the gift giving mindset more often, or just like training your ear to peak up when someone says that they want something, even if they say they want it in September, October, or even earlier in the year, like it's a great idea to keep a note on your phone and be like, oh, like Lilly said she really needs new socks or something, you know, like let me like remember that, because that's another big thing that I think people love about getting a gift is like, oh, you listen to me. Like not only do you love me enough to like get me a gift and like think about it for more than 2 seconds, but like you also listen to what I say. Like that's really special. And I actually saw a TikTok of this girl who was with her boyfriend, and a year prior, she had passed by a pumpkin patch and she said like, oh my gosh, that looks so cute. Like I would love to go to that. So then a year later, he was like, I'm going to take you somewhere and like surprise you. He takes her to the pumpkin patch and she literally goes like, oh, like this looks kind of weird. And he's like, no, but like you said you wanted to go here. And she's like, yeah, like when we were driving by really fast and I couldn't really see it. and like literally didn't. And she's like, yeah, but like I guess we can go take pictures.
Oh.
And like it was just like so difficult to watch because this guy had like literally stowed it away in his brain for a full year. She wants to go to that pumpkin patch, and then took her as a surprise, and she just literally eviscerated him for it.
That
Justice for that
sucks.
guy.
I know.
It like was real time. Like you don't think it was staged?
No,
or
it
anything?
wasn't staged. It wasn't staged.
Wow.
It was a YouTuber specifically who,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, well,
the YouTuber was the girl who was like not that excited.
Yeah, well, like the girl and the guy like would vlog together, so he like got the camera out and he was like, guys, like we passed by this pumpkin patch a year ago, and like she like really wanted to go there, and he's like, so I'm gonna surprise her, like, and then tried to surprise her, and she
sucks for
yeah,
that. Like
yeah.
I get it if she's not that excited, but at least be like, thank you so much for
remembering,
stowing
like,
that
that's
away.
So cute.
also
yeah.
like it's a pumpkin patch. Like go.
Yeah,
yeah, especially because like I even remember this year being like, never in my life have I really felt that inclined to go to a pumpkin patch, but like I kind of want to go.
Right.
And going off of that, like I keep a note in my phone with lots of my good friends' names on it, and it says things that they have said throughout the year that they want. Specifically, like I'm not going to tell either of these people that are sitting next to me what it is, but like for example, I was looking through it the other day to inspire my gift giving guide, and Liesel said something once. I don't think she remembers saying it. It was the most random thing ever, and I wrote it down. And I was like, honestly, she will never remember that she said this, so I don't even know that I should get it because it's so weird and random.
Will you tell me what it is?
Yeah, in some capacity, you will find out in the future, but I'm not going to tell you right now.
That's so funny
so
because I do feel like I am that person that's like, you know what, I really want like some light up sneakers right now, or like something not
It's
obviously
nothing
that's
like
not
that.
what I want, but like I do be saying oftentimes like, oh, I would want that, and then I just like move on with my life and never think about it again. That's funny.
So if you keep this is one way I think to improve your gift giving skills and to hone the art of gift giving is keep a note in your phone, so easy, and then you come back to it, and gift giving is such a stress-free and positive experience. Nice. Another recommendation I have for this week is that people start The Flight Attendant, because I started it last night and I've only watched one episode, and maybe it's going to get bad because that is what the two people sitting next to me have just informed me. But the one episode I watched was really good, and it's a great follow-up after The Undoing because it gives me Undoing vibes.
And I will recommend the best reality dating show that I have seen in a while, Love Island Australia. Go over to Hulu, my new favorite streaming platform, and watch season 1. Gigi and I are really enjoying it, and I think in our next episode we might be expanding on this topic further.
Another recommendation that I had that's holiday related, I absolutely love and adore and cherish the Trader Joe's peppermint bark Oreos, or like JoJo's or whatever the F, where they're like the regular JoJo's, but then they're encrusted in more chocolate and candy cane crumbles.
Yeah, we need to get those.
Actually, like so good.
Yeah.
And genuinely one of the few like holiday foods that I'm like looking forward to year after year. So with that, thank you for listening to Sophomore Citizens, the podcast by young people for young people, with new episodes every Monday. So we'll see you wise babies then. Also, be sure to head over to our Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Check out our platforms there, and be sure to leave a 5-star review.